Strengthening rural energy, how electric co-op investments are helping to build the economic engines of the future. Good morning and thanks for joining us on Market Day Report. I'm Christina Loren. An Energy and Environment Innovation Showcase is currently underway in Washington, where rural community advocates are highlighting the importance of investing in rural electric cooperatives. Ohio's Electric Co-op Director of Government Affairs, Marc Armstrong, joins us now for an update. Thanks for joining us, Marc. I understand the Rural Act is one of the focus points for today. Let's start with some background on that legislation.
Sure, absolutely, and thanks for having me on. The Rural Act is a bipartisan piece of legislation that is, its intention is to correct a law change from 2017 that has an adverse impact on electric cooperatives around the state. What the legislation seeks to do is to change the Internal Revenue Code and allow electric cooperatives to not be penalized for receiving grants for things like broadband or disaster relief. So we're really trying to get this piece of legislation done in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, you know, thousands of rural electric users rely on rural co-ops. What would be the effect of a co-op actually losing its tax-exempt status?
Losing tax-exempt status for a co-op would be devastating. A co-op would have to file as a taxable entity and pay taxes on the money that the state or federal government just gave to them. So in my mind, that doesn't make any sense.
Why is it important for consumers to really understand why the Rural Act needs to be enacted?
Yeah, I think, co-ops shouldn't be taxed simply for reinvesting in our infrastructure or building out a broadband network, as some co-ops are getting into. And given that electric co-ops are owned by the members that they serve, the tax impact would have to be absorbed by the customers, and that could have an impact on their rates.
Okay, let's talk about the outlook for Congress to pass the Rural Act. What are you hearing right now? And then tell us about the financial consequences to co-ops if the Rural Act is not passed.
Sure. Well, we're hoping that despite everything that's happening in Washington, D.C. right now with impeachment hearings, that Congress will continue to focus on much-needed pieces of legislation like the Rural Act. This legislation is not controversial. It has widespread bipartisan support. In fact, every member from Ohio, every House member that is, has co-sponsored this legislation. So Congress needs to get this done. But ultimately, if a co-op would have to file and pay corporate income tax like for-profit entities, there would be a significant tax increase to the customers and to the cooperative, which would just be devastating.
Yeah, okay. MidOhioEnergy.com for more information. Thanks for keeping us up to date. Ohio Electric Cooperatives Director of Government Affairs, Marc Armstrong. Appreciate you advocating on behalf of rural Americans in Washington, D.C.